Man, do you like podcasts? Well then,
welcome to
No Gimmicks Needed!
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
this is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. And we're going to talk about the complicated legacy of Hulk Hogan. So, once again, I won't take my time with this one because I've been around and I've seen the stuff on social media. And here's the thing. Everybody's going to be affected differently, and I think that's what a lot of people are truly not understanding. And they think that a lot of times when things like this happen, unfortunate things like this happen, it's supposed to neglect certain things. Now here's the thing though, about all that stuff. Death is hard. It's complicated, and every human being on this earth deals with death differently. And as soon as Hulk Hogan died, I automatically said it's going to be a wild and crazy thing, especially on social media, because if you praise Hogan for what he has done, he's a cultural icon. Hulk Hogan is not like, this is the biggest wrestling death that we've had. Now, because once again, you can talk about Owen Hart, you can talk about Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, but all those deaths really made the news because of the circumstances of how these wrestlers died. But if you want to talk about like one of the biggest deaths, that this has made all kinds of media, from Sports Centers to BBC America, to like, this is a cultural icon that has passed away. So it's everywhere, but he comes with a lot of controversy. But everybody deals with death differently, and a lot of times, people on both sides do not understand how people are feeling when it comes to death. There are Hulk Hogan fans out there, and there are black Hulk Hogan fans out there still. And if you're a Hogan fan out there, you're criticized for liking the problematic thing with Hulk Hogan and celebrating the races and all that things. But then when you're sitting there and you're downing the man, it's like, how could you? The man has died. You have no respect. So you're really in the middle, and you don't know which way to go, i.e. what happened to Chelsea Green, which I will get to later on in the topic. But I decided that the way I want to talk about Hogan is, I'm going to give my little intro. I'm going to talk about, I guess I'll split it into two parts in a way, where it'd be like, this is talking about the good and the bad about Hulk Hogan, because you can celebrate Hogan, but don't whitewash Hogan. You can roast Hogan, but acknowledge what he has done. Now, when it comes to me personally, because I that's why I wanted everybody on the show, I was never a Hulk Hogan fan. This is before all the personal bullshit came out. I'm talking about, I wasn't a Hulk Hogan fan because I was an NWA WCW guy. That's what I was raised on. My grandfather used to take my brothers to NWA shows to see Dusty Rhodes, to see Sting, to see the Road Warriors. That's what he was there. They was there to see. And then when I first started watching wrestling, watched Vader versus the British Bulldog in '93 on WCW. And then my grandfather's favorite wrestler that I can remember was Ric Flair. So WCW is what I was raised on. That's what we would watch WCW Saturday night. And then when Nitro came on, I always used to watch Nitro, and I would occasionally turn on to Raw. When I watched WWE, I was not into the WWE stuff, especially like in the mid-90s, early 90s, mid-90s. I wasn't into the product, what they was doing. Like, I think I may have turned to WWF at that time, and Max Moon was on. I was like, oh God, no. I was like, I didn't care for that. But I was into WCW. So when Hulkamania, like that era, that golden age of wrestling, that I just wasn't my era, and I just wasn't into that because I care more about Ric Flair. Okay, so that's where it comes from for me. So, but I understood the impact that guy had. I understood why everybody, when you would go out and they had bashing buddies and stuff, and they had the Hogan and Warrior bashing buddies. There used to be like these plushy type things that they would have. I understand all that. I to say it, respect it even as a young age, but it just Hogan wasn't my thing. Then when Hogan came over to WCW when they had that whole parade for him at the MGM Studios, I believe it was, at Disney down in Florida, and he was coming over to WCW. I was like, okay, well, the way I looked at it was Hulk Hogan, who was the best in WWF, versus Ric Flair, the best in WCW. We never truly got that. We got a match like that in WCW, but it still lacked all the hype and all that stuff like that. And I still was just a Ric Flair guy. And honestly, Hogan was just cheesy to me, man. I just didn't care for Hogan. I mean, he had the promo, tell you to take your vitamins and all that stuff like that, but the red, yellow, I didn't care for. Now, when NWO Hogan came, I became a Hogan fan. I can admit that. I became a Hogan fan when he became heel, which is still the best heel turn in wrestling. He was responsible for two of the biggest boom periods in professional wrestling. Yes, there would be no wrestling. Well, I can say no wrestling. The wrestling wouldn't be where it's at without Hulk Hogan. Hogan helped bring wrestling to the mainstream. Wrestling was doing just fine where it was at in this market in the 80s, but to bring it mainstream, to bring it for all eyes who are not wrestling fans to see, is the reason why WWE and wrestling today is such as big as it is, because of Hogan. Then in the 90s, when he becomes heel, like, this is the biggest baby. This is a cultural icon here. I've said this in my car review, that when you think about the 80s, and you think about the highlights from the 80s, I'm just going to, because I just in the car just talked about like different individuals, but if you think about the highlights from the 80s, such as Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Prince, Michael Jackson, the rise in the NBA with Magic versus Larry, that whole rivalry, there's so much that is culturally in the 80s that Hulk Hogan is mentioned in that. They had the Rockin' Wrestling cartoon back in the 80s. Same thing with the A-T and Mr. T. And that's why they did a tag team thing for WrestleMania 1. He was huge. And that got wrestling into the mainstream. And then when you go to the 90s, and then the biggest hero in wrestling, the biggest hero almost in sports entertainment, turns his back on the fans. That's why they threw legit trash in there. See, this back then when you didn't like the heel turn like that, the John Cena heel turn is like, we know how wrestling works, okay, and we just wanted to see something different from John Cena. But it was a good, but it wasn't on the Hogan level. It wasn't. And they created the NWO, and they had the Monday Night Wars. Those were the two boom periods. He's responsible for both of them. And I have to admit, when Hollywood Hook came out there, and Nash and Hall and NWO, oh my God, I used to get the NWO shirts. I even got me a Wolfpack shirt. And the thing is, I liked the Hogan entry. Like, even when I created myself on 2K, right? I have the guitar playing World Championship belt as my championship entrance, because I think that's one of the sickest entrances that has ever done. Hogan does that, and when he comes out like he's playing the guitar slowly out there with the World Heavyweight Championship, I like that shit. I can't even hate. That's what made me like Hogan. That's what he was responsible for. And once again, they had this thing with Starrcade, with Sting, which was another thing that I was, being a WCW guy, I was really excited about, because NWO was running roughshod. Sting would turn his back on us, or just turned it back on the company. It became Crow Sting, which was really hot in the 90s at Brandon Lee Crow. And Sting became that, and they had the whole thing of Sting versus Hogan at Starrcade, which they fucked up. And they ain't fucked the finish. Hogan told the ref, don't count fast. And it made Sting look stupid. And they messed the whole thing up. Starrcade is WCW's WrestleMania, and they messed that whole thing up. Sting still won the match, but they messed the whole thing up. But then the next year, when Goldberg was hot, he got white hot, and I told him about this before my Gold review. He got white hot, and Hogan put him over clean. I was excited about that, because I was a huge Goldberg fan. Like I said, Hogan's not on my list of top 10, but that's the only Hogan I liked, was that NWO Hulk Hogan. if any of the Hogan. But then, and then he had his return to well, I mean, he had that bullshit ass ending in Great American Bash, but then he returned to WWE 2002 with the NWO, and they had to rehash the NWO, which was nowhere near as cool as it was back in the 90s. Nowhere near as cool. And that's when we had the thing with The Rock. Now, I thought, just like everybody else thought, that we was going to finally get Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. Now, if you're asking me who do I like more, it's going to be Stone Cold. But Stone Cold's run was too short. Stone Cold had the nuclear heat, the white hot run, one of the most popular seems like that. You even with the Hogan thing, you still can't talk about the 90s without talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you don't watch wrestling, you know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. It's just that the longevity went to Hogan. And you would thought they had a match at WrestleMania, but no, that went to The Rock. Which even still, that was the best match on that card. Because it was about the moment, and I have to say so myself. I can see how it happened because you got Hogan at WrestleMania, even in the NWO. He was playing the heel stuff, but having him Hulk up, all the fans is getting giddy again, and now Hogan is back, and then he goes back. He beats. He still loses to The Rock, but he ends up the hero, and then he goes back to the red and yellow. And starts, has that little 2002 one, which I didn't mind because here's the weird thing, right? So I never liked the yellow trunks and the red knee pads or that, but when he came out there as the Hollywood Hulk Hogan with the red and yellow, and he started having that Jimi Hendrix music, that listen, Real American is a good theme song, and a lot of people think that's the best wrestling theme song of all time. Which each your own, right? But for some reason, I still have a guilty pleasure of liking that Jimi Hendrix guitar riff song that he had in the 2000s. Did it hit like Real American? No, it didn't. But for me, I'm saying personally, I enjoyed that, right? But Hogan was just there. It's like, okay, he's there. The Mr. American thing was fine. It was just there. And then the bullshit starts coming out, right? Now, honestly, when I say the bullshit started, right? Here's the thing. At this time, we're in 2015, okay? And at this time, other than Hollywood Hogan, that was in WCW, that was the only version of Hogan I liked. I still wasn't a fan of Hogan, okay? I was not a Hulk Hogan guy. I did not care about the Hulkamania. I didn't go out there to buy any of his t-shirts. I bought one Hogan t-shirt, and I think this is when they had him at FYE. And I just got me one because it was red and yellow. And I was like, okay, I'll just add to the collection. I have like one Hulkamania t-shirt. And I bought that back. I had to be about, I think 2013. I think it may have been 13, 14, stuff like that. And at this time, I didn't care for that. I didn't care about the movies he was in. Like, other than Rocky 3, I like the Rocky movies. And I thought he was good as Thunder Lips in Rocky 3. But Operation, Commando or No Holds Barred, all the movies was ass. So I didn't care for Hogan as an actor anyway like that. And so there was nothing really got me to like Hogan. Even when they did the WrestleMania 30 3-man team up of Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold all in the ring, and they had the beer. I was like, okay, he's Hogan. I understand why he's out there. So I understand why he was supposed to be hosting thing, or he created the Andre Giant Battle Royal. All this shit, I understand that. And then they had the whole him come back with the NWO to go against DX against the Sting and Triple H match, which was like they were trying to make a moment here, and I don't think it stuck like that, like they thought it was going to do. So then, in July of 2015, there are some leak things that come out about a Hulk Hogan sex tape that was recorded back in 2007. But in that tape, he was expressing some things about his daughter dating a black man, and he said some extreme racist shit on there. Using the hard ER, even amid saying he was racist to a point, and saying that he would rather if his daughter was going to date one of them N-words, that he would want them to at least be one of them 8 foot tall and make, over the millions of dollars of those N-words. Like, it was really nasty shit when that happened. Here's the thing. I was like, I don't like Hogan, but damn, I was like, it's like that, huh? I wasn't a fan of him like on a wrestling stance. I even at times used to watch Hogan Knows Best when he had the reality show, which was not great, but it was reality TV. You just sit there and laugh, and him just listening to what was it, Jeezy, and him playing this all back to back. I was just like, why is this even happening, right? So, but still, because even Prime sent me that the other day. He said, yo, you remember this? I was like, yeah, funny, but for July, July 24th, which is eerie because that was 10 days to the date that he passed away, where WWE terminated the contract with Hogan, saying that they're committed to embracing and celebrating individuals for all backgrounds, and it kind of stayed Hogan, and they kind of scrubbed him from the Hall of Fame, and then he took off his merch, and he was taken out of 2K15. Like it was bad. It was bad, and that like, but this ain't it ain't just about like, I don't want anybody to keep thinking that this is what caused Hogan's downfall, which is him saying these racial slurs on a recorded thing that he didn't even know he was being recorded, right? Because that's the argument everybody wants to bring up. Hogan has been a bad guy. Also, like, Hogan has said homophobic shit. Hogan has done things to keep people down, not get people over. Busted, with Jesse Ventura trying to get the boys unionized. He snitched. Said he with the steroid thing. He lies. And that's one of the biggest things. Hogan just be lying. All the time. And I think, like, people get tired of his bullshit, like the amount of lies, like to the point where it's actually been like a game of it. Like, yo, what are the tall tales of Hulk Hogan? Like, there's internet websites dedicated to this because of how much this man lies. This man wakes up lying, and you're wondering, like, is Terry Bollea even around anymore, or is it just Hulk Hogan? Now, and like I said, and just because he said that race stuff on that recorded sex tape thing, he still said some racist stuff because he was saying that that they would hope that they would not be reincarnated as black males, like that the man was just racist. That's what he was. And then now this is where the conflicting things happen. When I heard it, I'm just like, I'm not a Hogan fan. But damn, that's fucked up. That's the way it is. It's fucked up. Anybody that is a culture icon or big like that, and you just like, okay, you're part of the group of people that he clearly don't like. It's like, damn. All right. And then you got people that just gonna make excuses for him because they're fans. I've been fans of people that they have done some wild shit, and I'm like, you sit there and without even knowing it, you making excuses for him. And then, but okay, it happened. He said it. Do we evolve from it? Do we learn from it? Do we try to make it better? And Hogan had that opportunity, and he didn't even do it though. They were both up to, like, when he was to come back, and Triple H, I believe, and Vince was like, "Why don't you need to go talk to the black wrestlers in the back because those are the ones you offended. Those are the ones you hurt." And he refused to do that. He said he talked to everybody. And basically his apology, I was saying, was, hey, don't get caught. People out here, you don't know when you're being recorded. So in other words, I'm not sorry for what I said. It's just that I got caught. And it's like, oh, it's like that. So once again, that is a stain. So you're not even going to try to make it better. You're not even going to try to sit there and get this stuff together with black people who love the shit out you. Not me. But there are black people that love Hulk Hogan. They grew up in that era. That was their hero. I at that time, I was seeing people like really hurt by this. Like truly hurt, like, because, that was their hero. And I was like, you know what? Fuck Hogan. Like, that was the energy it was, and that's kind of how it's been ever since. Especially when it comes to black people. And then sometimes people don't want to understand that, look, like, people who are not black just don't get it. and they want to get it, and they make it seem like he said, "I'm sorry." He put out an apology. I'm like, it ain't just even about that. It ain't even just about him saying, "I'm sorry." Like, being called out your name, being racist, being basically you don't want to see my race succeed. Like, that is, it ain't nothing that sorry can do, because he will still bring harm or still say things. He's sorry he got caught. If he ain't never got caught, Hogan would sit there and do the same things, but he would just be mad that he got caught. That's all it is. People can't seem to understand why people don't fuck with him, because he got caught. And that's how that's the energy he gave off. That's how he acted towards it. I'm not sorry what I said. I'm sorry that I got caught. And as the Hogan thing, as the problematic Hogan stuff happens, people just tired of his shit. But also, and even just all people, there are Hogan fans. It's just like once again, they're Hogan fans. They're apologists. That it don't matter whatever happens, Hulk Hogan is God to them. They will never boo Hogan. But then there are people that's just like, you know what, I'm done with Hogan for all the bullshit he did. And once again, you do not have to be black to be offended by what Hogan said. And on the same token, you don't have to be black to be. It's the same thing. But then also, you can be black and not be offended about what Hogan said. But that's just a morally thing. Like, if I just see people, which there are some people out there now that just says racist shit to other people, they be like, well, they ain't say it to me. So no, that's not how it works. A threat to justice anywhere is an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Yes, it's a Martin Luther King quote, but it rings so true. An injustice to anybody, whether it's black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, Native people, gay people, women, any type of injustice done to any of them groups of people that are not white men, and you see this injustice and we don't do nothing about it, it threats justice everywhere. You can take one down and it'll threat justice everywhere, so that nobody will get a fair shake, because once again, nobody will stand up for one another. So you don't have to be. There are white people that out there that was like, yo, fuck Hogan for what he said. That's just not right, or how he acted about it. There are wrestlers in the back. I don't know which ones. Don't need to really know which ones, but I can tell you right now, I'm guaranteed there was wrestlers in the back that was like, hey, yo, Hogan full of shit right now. He full of shit. Like, I don't need to hear this shit right now, because if honestly, I'm offended by what he said, but then I will understand why the black people are more offended by that. So talk to him. No, he did that, and then there were some white people, wrestlers that was in the back, and they didn't give a shit. Who still don't give a shit. So that's where it's at. But Hogan just started getting, like, people after a while, it started booing Hogan. And I knew something, the tide was changing on how people felt about Hulk Hogan when he came out at WrestleMania 37 in Florida, near his hometown, with Titus O'Neil dressed up like stupid fucking pirates, and they booed the hell out of Hogan. And I was just like, first of all, why would y'all put him up there with Titus O'Neil? No, I was like, because I feel bad for Titus O'Neil. And I was just like, because like, you know the man don't like you. He don't give a shit about you. He says some racist shit to you that was really disrespectful. But yeah, you gotta go out there and work with this guy, because that's what it is. That's the business. And they booed him. And a lot of fans that are like, that have been booing stuff like that, these are new fans. These ain't fans that grew up watching Hogan. These are just younger fans that's just like, oh yeah, we know what Hogan did, and we just not with the bullshit. It'd be all or nothing with him. There is no shade of gray. It's like, yo, fuck him. Fuck him. That's how it be. And that's why it's crazy that the last image, the last live appearance from Hulk Hogan on a WWE television was him getting booed out the building at the Raw premiere on Netflix. What a fucking way to go out like that. That's insane. But Hogan brings the shit on himself. Out of that Raw on Netflix was crazy. And people can make it seem like it's because of his political march. Because once again, he went out to the RNC and became, he was a Trumper. And then people was just like, oh my God, he was full-blood out there trumping Vance and was at the RNC and supporting that, stuff like that. So it just, so people just like, yo, he just digging himself into it deeper and deeper. And just like, you just didn't want to fuck with Hogan no more. You didn't want to fuck with Hogan no more. And people be trying, and this is the thing that when it comes with like racist stuff, it's like you often see black people just trying to find ways to accept an apology that's not really there, or try to find the improvement or the work that they're doing that's not really there for, kind of acceptance here. And some of the things that I've seen, I'm just like, y'all, it's like, it's Hogan, so we got to find a way of, like, he said he was sorry, so I'm like, no, that kind of stuff bothers me a lot. It really does bother me a lot. And I was like, yo, sometimes people are just racist people. Sometimes people just don't like you. And no matter how many times you're going to kiss their ass, it ain't going to make a difference. It's not. So then, unfortunately, we got the news that Hogan passed. And I said unfortunately because he has a family that still love him. And they lost their dad. They lost, an ex-husband. They lost an uncle. They lost a grandfather. They lost as their family member. And I know that him and his daughter was not getting along in the end, and they weren't even talking. And, it's a shame. Like I said, it's a shame that was the lasting image that we have of Hogan on that Netflix show. They go out there and get booed out the building. You couldn't even deny it. That's how crazy it was. And we talked about it also, and it was like, that's unfortunate. But it happened. And he earned that. So, when I got the news of him passing away, honestly, I was like, I feel like I gotta say something, right? But I wanted to take a minute to, I wanted to really get everybody on the show with me to talk about it, because we all have different views and opinions. And unfortunately, the timing just did not work out, so it's just me here. Because once again, I know a lot of my counterparts can offer some opinions, because Quattro was a Hogan fan. At one point, before he got a fan of ECW. I wanted to get Lady Sketch opinion, because she never liked Hogan, no matter what version of Hogan it was. But you just get different viewpoints of that. And the stuff I seen online was, it was a track, like, social media is a dumpster fire. It is. Which brings me to Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green, we ain't got no problems with Chelsea Green. Never had no problems with Chelsea Green. I love Chelsea Green. And she is taking a break off social media because Chelsea Green put up a post almost like talking about Hogan when he passed. It's just what she said. She says, political views aside, Hulk Hogan's influence on the wrestling world was clearly undeniable. She's not lying. He inspired millions and shaped an entire generation of fans, my husband included. We are mourning the loss of an icon, a legend. My love goes out to his family. It was a simple tweet with the red and yellow star. So automatically everybody jumped on her and saying like, hey, what the fuck, you praising this racist dude? Like, what's going on with you? So then she jumps on there and has it's like she apologizes. So she goes on there and says, a significant part of my role at WWE involves engaging with the public and responding to questions, often on live platforms. Yesterday, I was asked to comment on Hogan on live TV. Let me be clear. My stance on racism is unwavering, and I do not condone it. Period. If my response or tweet seemed dismissive of real concerns, I sincerely apologize. That was never my intention. I try to acknowledge a death respectfully, even when the legacy is complicated. I am learning one day at a time and will continue to learn. And then it didn't stop with her. They didn't stop coming with her, giving her even death threats, to the point where she said, I tried to keep my page positive and comedic, but today a lot changed, and it hit harder than I expected. The name calling, the death threats, the faceless accounts. Social media was supposed to be a fun place, and it hasn't been for a while. It really hasn't. It's been overwhelming, and I need to step away for a bit to get her shit together. And this is the stuff that be happening. This is why, listen, when y'all listen, I'm not on social media. Because I know me. I know me. I'm not on social media because I can't handle it. Because social media is a dumpster fire. And you got these keyboard gangsters out here who type all this shit, and half of them be kids. But you don't know that in their face. They get these birds account, and they just want to just sit there and just rant and rave. And first of all, I get racist comments and bullshit comments on YouTube all the time. And YouTube blocks it, but sometimes you don't see it on the video, and you gotta go look, and you be like, okay, here we go. And I'm going to get some on the YouTube version. It's going to get some of them comments also, because people just won't be angry because they don't fucking think. She ain't never sit there and said, yeah, I love Hogan, and say the man is dead. And when it comes to death, everybody takes it differently, and you try to be respectful as you can. There are some people who just don't give a fuck about being respectful. They just sit there like, yo, let the man be maggot food. But that is somebody loved him. And if the God that we pray to, or the one that we serve, some people do, some people don't. And they don't even like mentioning him in religion or other guys like that, loved him too. With his flaws, he gonna have to answer for that. Now, I'm glad that on Smackdown that they were respectful. The crowd was respectful when he did the 10 bell salute, stuff like that, because his shit is complicated. It's complicated. But a lot of us just there were some of us that just lit that cigarette or put the glasses on like Ice-T did in New Jack City, just pimp off. I was one of them. But I said to my team in the group chat, I'm like, listen, my biggest problem is the people who's gonna go out here and kiss Hulk Hogan's ass because he died. That ain't right. That ain't right. Whatever energy you got for Hogan, you keep that same energy in death. When I think of Hulk Hogan, there's this fan that I see at some of the WWE shows. They got a literally back size from the back of his neck down to his waist on his back of Hulk Hogan, and he would take it off. And I remember Hogan seeing him and acknowledging him. He's probably tore up right now, and he has the right to be. But then there are just people who just not going to be as torn up. It's just not going to be as upset that Hulk Hogan has passed away, because the man was way more problematic than just racism. Especially with the boys in the back. There are a lot of people who just do not like Hulk Hogan. Like I said, you got Undertaker and Hogan, two sides of the same. They both Trumpers. They both on the same side of the coin. But Undertaker ain't not that fond of Hulk Hogan. And what really bothers me is that when people got to say, yo, go out there and kiss Hogan's ass, I'm going to give Hogan the same energy I did when he was alive. I'm not kissing Hulk Hogan's ass. I'm not a fan of Hulk Hogan. And especially after all that racist shit, yo, fuck Hulk Hogan. But I can acknowledge that I'm respectful for when somebody does pass away. And that's all. So just short and sweet to the point. Like, you cannot deny who Hogan is to the wrestling business and how important Hogan is. You cannot deny that. You can't take that away from him. But you cannot also whitewash his legacy just because of who he is. And then it bothers me. What also bothers me is when, black people sometimes try to go out there and do too much. Like Dwayne, Devon Dudley. And it's almost like because they're wrapped up in their emotions, like it's like you're almost trying to make excuses for Hogan. Where I felt as though what Stone Cold had wrote, or I don't know if it was on Instagram or Twitter or not, but what Stone Cold had wrote I thought was like short, sweet, to the point. That's what it needed to be. I think it was on Twitter. Stone Cold said Hulk Hogan was born to be a professional wrestler, larger than life, charisma for days. He was in a stratosphere all on his own. All this is true. His contributions are immense. His influence will be forever. Hulkamania lives on. My condolences to his family and loved ones. That's it. That's all you needed. But then when you see, Dwayne Johnson like literally write a whole soliloquy about Hogan and their match they had, I respect that. Or Devon Dudley trying to sit there and justify why Hogan used the N word to the other bullshit. You got people looking at you sideways like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, what kind of time you on right now? You don't need to be kissing nobody, because once again, there are gonna be some people who just ain't gonna, like, Hogan ain't gonna kiss a lot of people's ass when they had passed away. Truly, that's just what it is. And that's the kind of stuff that be annoying me. I'm like, yo, keep that same energy for this man, because that ain't right to his family. If you ain't like Hogan, but you want to be, I'm a Hogan fan, we'll miss him, and Condola say you want to try to go help his family, fuck you. You didn't like him. Back the fuck up. Keep the energy. That's why I said that's what I'm doing. That's what people should do. And people get weird when people die because, once again, death. We're not meant to. Humans are not meant to deal with death. Okay, that's why there are so many different, traumas that come with death, whether you think so or not. And that's what it is. The fans he got, the family will know about the fans, but the ones he don't, it is what it is. But you can still acknowledge what the man has done, but don't excuse what the legacy that he left behind. Hulk Hogan was 71 years old, and his lasting image was being booed out the building on Netflix. That is a way to go that I do not want to go. But like I said before, I give condolences to his family. Hulkamania was responsible for these two biggest boom periods in wrestling history. He has charisma, and like Stone Cold said, he was born to be a wrestler, and he has immense impact. And to a lot of people, he will be missed, and to some, they don't give two shits. But when it comes to the Hulk Hogan situation, it is very complicated. But people are allowed to feel how they want to feel. And unfortunately, Hogan brought that on himself.